Welcome into the On Texas Football postgame show brought to you by our friends over at Flight by Yingling and Faust Distributing. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by national champ. Look at that. He's got a new title under there. Brian Robison and lifetime Longhorn, Rod Babers. Guys, the Longhorns survive in advance. It was not always pretty this afternoon, but you know what? The Longhorns needed to put up some put up some points today. They committed to the run, and guess what? It worked out. I'm Bobby Burton, Brian Robison, Rod Babers alongside. Rod, I'm going to start with you. Your initial thoughts on this game as the Longhorns come out the winner.
The run game, I think, is what I kind of took from it. You've had now 3 of your 4 best rushing performances of the season. I think basically your 3 best rushing performances in 3 of the last 4 games. So the theory that we were discussing that maybe it's just Georgia that's a bad matchup for your run game. I feel like there's more evidence of that because this is a really good. This is not a good defense, but this is a defense that's got good linebackers. I like their linebacker play, and I thought maybe the linebackers would make more plays against the Texas run game. They did not. A&M's got a good defensive front. They got NFL players on their defensive front. They couldn't stop the Texas run game. We talked about what they did against Kentucky. So to me, I feel like Texas did find something in the run game this season. And hopefully that is the case now going forward when you obviously deeper into the playoffs against Arizona State and then whoever you play going forward. So I like the spark they got in the run game. They found juice. They still have an identity in the run game. I think football, just like, fights, it's about matchups. And Georgia is kind of a bad matchup for your run game. But I digress. Getting back to it, I did think that, Texas played their best quarterback they played so far, Cade Klubnik. And I know you can argue whether Carson Beck's a better prospect at the quarterback position, guys. But Cade Klubnik's playing the quarterback position better right now. And there's no doubt about it. That presented problems to Texas. And what I would say about good quarterbacks, same thing I say about good coaches, they solve problems. They just figure out a way to solve problems presented by the defense, whether it be pressure, whether that be different disguise, coverages, whatever the concept's thrown at them. And Cade Klubnik did that today. He solved a lot of problems against that Texas defense, made a lot of plays, made a lot of great throws. So I will give him credit I think Texas defense is the best defense in the country, and yet Cade Klubnik made a hell of a game against that defense. He made plays, probably made more plays against that defense than I've seen any quarterback make against that defense.
It was probably the best quarterback Texas has faced. Brian Robison, your thoughts immediately following the game?
Yeah, I think offensively, when you look at it, I thought the offense played very well. The only thing I would say is third quarter woes kind of snuck up on Texas again. Yeah. And they're going to have to figure that out as they move forward, especially when they start facing some more formidable opponents. I'm not saying Clemson is not a formidable opponent, but when you're playing the likes of Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State, or Tennessee, some of those teams, they will capitalize when you cannot score in the third quarter. Even Arizona State. We saw the third quarter that they had in the Big 12 championship game. Hey, watch out, and they've got a pretty good run game as well. So it'll be interesting how they, fix those woes moving forward. Defensively, I think we all kind of knew coming into this game that if Clemson was going to beat Texas, it was going to go by their offense. It's a very good offense that Clemson has. Very good quarterback, just like Rod hit on. I'm not gonna sit here and beat that down. We'll talk about that more later. But Cade Klubnik is playing very good ball, and so we knew that was going to be a challenge for the defense. I thought the defense held up for the most part, but to me, it's just you look at it and you look at the little things, just little things here and there. That kind of changed the game, even as little as going for it at 4th and 1 at the end of the game there to put it away and you get a fumble. Those are the things that the ball bounces the other way. It can cost you big time. So they're going to have to shore up some of those things as they move through the playoffs. But I do think what Rod said hits the nail on the head, which is them establishing the run game is going to pay dividends as they go through this bracket, because I think the team that can really establish the run is going to be the team that has the most success as they move forward.
Yeah, and think about this, guys. Not only established the run, you lost offensive linemen.
Yes.
Starters line. You lost. Weisner went down in the game, right? And A&M game, Kelvin Banks went down in the game. He's still able to run the ball. So it's not. They've actually truly found something. It's not even based on a personnel. They found something because you've had guys go down that are key to the running game the last, and obviously in 4 of the last 5 games. You've still been able to run the football. So I do think that's key. I think that, once again, Georgia, that's the exception and not the rule we're talking about.
Hey, Rod and Brian, you think about it, Texas lost 2 starting offensive linemen and their starting running back in this game. They lost Jake Majors. I think he got dinged in the head effectively. It sounds like he got knocked, his bell got rung, and he probably went into concussion protocol, even though he was trying to talk him into it on the sideline. Cam Williams was up and active on the sideline, I'm being told, and was trying to get back in the game, but they held him out for precautionary reasons. That's good. 10 days from now when they play on January 1st, right? So that'll be good. I guess it's 11 days, actually. And then also Trey Weiser went out, and it looked like he just had a nicked up ankle or high knee, some sort of knee sprain of some sort, but they were suffering those injuries. Yet look at this. Y'all talk about mixing the run. Longhorns have 2 backs go over 100.
Wow.
Jaden Blue, 14 for 146. Of course, 77 of that, he popped off a big one. Trey Weiser, 15 for 110. They got it done on the ground. Jarrett Gibson even came in and gave him some good effort late in the 4th quarter in particular. Also made a first down, I think, in the first half as well on a power run. That plus Quinn Ewers goes 17 of 24. Not a great game for Quinn, but effective and efficient largely. Didn't put the ball in harm's way except for maybe one time. The interception I don't think was his fault at all, clearly. But did make one bad throw, but not maybe the throw behind Matthew Golden on 4th down was behind him. But 17 of 24 for 202, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Good overall. Gunnar Helm gets reintroduced to the offense as well, Brian and Rod. 6 catches, 77 yards. Matthew Golden, Jaden Blue, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, and Trey Weiser also playing a role there. What did y'all think of the performance by Quinn Ewers this afternoon? I thought it was pretty strong overall. He was really good in the first half. Second half, it looked like the offense stuttered, but man, Longhorns overall have pretty good offense on the day. Can't debate scoring 38 points, and they weren't cheap points, by the way. There were no short fields for Texas, other than the one where they didn't score. Brian, I'll ask you, what did you think of the offense in total?
Yeah, I thought the offense, like I said, outside of really the 3rd quarter for me, the offense was pretty spot on. I will just go ahead and put this out here. We've talked about this the last few weeks. Texas has to find a way to put games away. They've got to learn that, like, they got to have the killer instinct, because I've seen it the last – I don't know if you guys have seen it like I have, but I've looked at it the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it's like they come out in the second half and things really slow down. And that is not when Texas is successful. They're successful when they don't allow other times to think, when they run a multitude of different crossing routes, things like that. Everything is fast-paced, quick motion, not allowing people to really set and get in their ways. And when they come out the second half, they may run a motion here and there, but for the most part, it's very low tempo, and it's very methodical, like they are trying to milk the clock. And I think that's when they get themselves in trouble. But overall, I thought Quinn played really well. I agree with you 100%. The throw behind Matthew Golden, and then the one that really had a chance to be intercepted. Outside of that, I thought Quinn played a really good game. I think he did what he needed to do, which is what we've been talking about. He managed the game. So, I mean, do I think it was his best performance? No, but do I think it was adequate? Absolutely. And so, but then offensively, when you look at this run game, and we've already hit on it, that to me is the catalyst. That to me is the catalyst, because if you can do this game in and game out, you wear teams down. Clemson is a good football team. Like don't get it fooled. Like, Clemson just wasn't a slouch. But
they won the ACC, right?
Yeah, they won. They won the ACC, and they still got Dabo Swinney as their coach now. Dabo Swinney knows how to win ball games. He knows how to compete. He knows how to get his teams ready. So, I mean, I think this was a very good test for the first week of the playoff. Like you said, good thing is we got 10 days to get everybody healthy and get back at it, because Arizona State's going to be the same way. They're not going to be a slouch, and they're going to try to run the ball. And we'll get to defense more, but I thought the offense did a pretty good job of getting a lead early. I just wish they could put the ball game away.
There ain't no doubt. B Rob, you right on the money, right? Because the third quarter now, listen, something happens once, it's a an outlier. Happens twice, coincidence. Happens 3 times. All right, that's a pattern. 4 times, it's a trend. 5 times, that's who you are. That's just who you are. Happens 5 times, and that's that bad third quarter we talking about. Where Texas has been outscored basically in the last 4 games, went now 38-6 in the third quarter. And what they had in this game, they had a field goal, they had a turnover on downs, and a 3 and out in the third quarter.
Yep.
You are right now the beauty of this game is you're one of the worst third quarter teams in the country for the last month. Okay, we'll figure out what that is, whatever it is, because it hadn't been the whole season, just the last 5 games or so. Clemson's actually been one of the worst fourth quarter teams in the country for the entire season. Even though they made the fourth quarter, that's not how they usually play. Usually they end up floundering in the fourth quarter. I think they were 119th or something like that in the fourth quarter defense, 93rd in fourth quarter offense. Not a good fourth quarter team. But I think ultimately for Texas, I'm going to be right. They got to figure out what's happening coming out of half for them. That is, and they had a good drive. Sometimes. So it's not always, the offense is just they are, for some reason they're inept and inefficient. No, they had a 13-play drive for the field goal, 14-play drive for the field goal. It came out right. Rolly's like, well, why can't you? That's a touchdown. That's it. We're talking about an entirely different game. If you just score a touchdown there instead of making a field goal, and then it's kind of the inefficiency starts from there. So there's something going on. They're snake bitten in the third quarter. I don't know what it is. Sark even admitted that he doesn't know what it is. It is something that could lose you a game playing against elite teams, which you are now. Having a third quarter that is that bad, if you end up having a really competitive first half and a third quarter that bad, it lost you a game versus Georgia. It could lose you a game down the stretch here too. When you can't afford that because you want to go home.
Yeah, I tell you what. Overall, I agree with you guys. The final score 34-24. Texas was outscored 14-10 in the second half, though. And I want to give a hats off to another goal line stand for the Longhorns. Yeah. Yet another 4th down. Tell me you didn't come out of your seat when that happened, guys. That was a big stand. Kept Texas at a 2-score lead, not unlike what happened at Texas A&M at the end of November. It kept Texas at a 2-score lead. They then went out and drove the ball a little bit down the field. I got a pass interference call. Look at the stats overall. Texas outgaining Clemson 494 to 412, but it was lopsided. Clemson's performance was clearly all passing. 336 yards passing, just 76 yards rushing. All of that, it felt like, other than maybe that one big run that Adam Randall popped off for 41 yards. It came out of Klubnik running to get back his sack yardage from earlier in the game. But you look at it, 494 to 412. Texas had 2 penalties to Clemson's 5. 27 first downs to Clemson's 20. I want to add this. Texas, we can say this, but Texas only punted once all game. That's pretty consistent performance from Sark and his offense and from the quarterback. Because I thought that Quinn played a really, really nice game in retrospect and after looking at all of this. Did they punt twice and I missed it? Yeah, they punted twice. Okay. My apologies. Punted twice.
Still impressive. That's great.
All right. Wait, is that the Texas? They punted twice in that game. Anyways, long story short, my thought process on this for Texas, guys, and y'all tell me if you agree or disagree, is Sark talked about getting the running back game back. He got that back going. Yeah, as a result, Texas wins this ball game. Now let's switch to defense. Brian, I'm going to start with you. What did you see from the Texas defense? I just went over the stats that you liked and didn't like.
Man, I think for the most part, I thought the defense was really good in the run game. I think there was a couple of leaky plays that got out, things like that. And listen, I don't put a lot of stock in that. When you play good teams, they're going to hit one here and there. Okay. But I think the thing about it is okay, let's look at this for face value. Okay. Clemson did a really good job of finding the small windows, the areas where they could hit the open receivers. When you have, now we're going to go to the ins and outs of that. When you got 2 weeks to prepare for somebody, those things are going to happen. Okay. But I thought after the first drive, I thought Texas did a really good job of adjusting, of getting back into their ball game, really being able to shut down Clemson for the most part. And then late in the game, you could tell going into halftime, Clemson made some adjustments to those adjustments, and they were able to find some, some little gaps within the areas. And if you look at it, they threw a lot of out routes, and then they would leak a guy, after a couple route routes, they'd leak a guy in that, not necessarily deep range, but that kind of secondary, away from the safety to where they took our safeties away from it and they couldn't make the plays on the ball, right? And I thought they did a really good job of that.
Yep.
What did you see, Rod B, on defense that you liked and didn't like?
I thought they did. I thought they attacked. They went after certain areas of the defense. I think they went after the intermediate passing area that Brian's talking about, linebackers in coverage, nickelbacks in coverage. In one drive, and I'll be honest, and the chat kind of brought it to my attention. They went after Muhammad. They went after Malik Muhammad at one point. It was obvious. I want to say there was like 4 targets on one drive, and they went after him and so they did some things that other teams just didn't have the capability of doing because they didn't have the quarterback play to do it. And they had, and honestly, that's one of the more talented receiving corps, if not the most talented receiving corps Texas faced as well.
Yep.
Overall, as a group. And I think that also was something that was evident on the field. So I think the defense played well, considering. I mean, that's a good question. That's the most explosive offense they faced. You look at 20-plus yard plays generated. Now, Texas is the best defense in the country at limiting explosive plays, but that's the best offense they faced in terms of explosive plays and 20-plus yard plays generated. So that was a top 10 offense in generating explosive plays. So they were going to, make some and win their fair share. I was a little disappointed later in the game when it became evident that they not only abandoned the traditional running game, but took it out in the backyard and shot it and buried it. It was like the Klubnik show. They were playing hero ball. It's like, Klubnik, go win us a game, baby. All right. And you saw it do. They were like, nah, it's his show. They were doing quarterback draw, stuff like that. I was surprised that Texas didn't go with more NASCAR to match them. And I know, yes, it was still a threat of them running it, but they would have to check to that. They would have to audible to that because they were just throwing it. It was all on Klubnik's shoulders. The NASCAR package gives you a way to put pressure. They wouldn't put any pressure on him at one point, and he was just back there clean. And a quarterback like that playing at a really high level, you leave in a clean pocket, he's gonna make plays. I don't give a damn how good the pass defense is. And that's DB talking to you. We got Thorpe Award winner back there, best pass defense in the country, and you saw he was making some plays. So I was a little disappointed in that. I thought that could have been a better adjustment, but they did Texas a favor. They got down there on the goal line and then started running power packages. I'm like, what? You're running heavy sets against Texas? Okay, thank you. Because I was worried they would go spread us out again, go empty or something. Cade Klubnik quarterback draw or the quarterback pop pass or stuff like that. And no, they wanted to try to run it down Texas' throat. Hey, Brian, they did us a huge favor on that one. You want to play bully ball against this defense? Please try.
Yeah,
I think they found something when they were just letting Klubnik go win it for you, and then they decided to try to run the football with a depleted running back group. I don't know. That was weird.
And I think too, maybe Texas underestimated Cade Klubnik's movement a little bit, because I saw some rushes that we haven't seen against mobile quarterbacks, and maybe that was an underestimation of what they thought. But I mean, there was a lot of times the whole defensive line got washed just because they were, making inside moves and things like that. And Cade was just able to kind of get outside and buy some time. So I'm with you on that. I was a little disappointed. You look at the stats, you look at, I think they had 3 sacks tonight. That's a decent night. I mean, tackles for loss, decent night, but I think when you look at it, when it really got down to the wire, like you said, they said, hey, we're not going to beat them running the ball. We got to throw the ball and we got to put it in Cade's hands. It was like, okay, wait a second. Why are we not teeing up on this guy? And then you start to really diagnose, you look at it and you're like, oh man, like why is all 4 guys to the left side and he's out to the right? And why, it was a little bit different. I think a lot of that probably came down to underestimating his mobility a little bit.
I agree with that.
Could be. All right, we're going to go over the offensive, defensive players in the game. And we'll talk a little bit more about this game as well. But first, I want to say, as well as take your questions on the chat line. But first, I want to say thank you to Flight. It's the next generation of light beer, and they're our sponsor for every post-game show this season. With only 95 calories, it's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 carbs. Flight's an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends over at Faust Distributing. We appreciate you very much. Guys, let me ask you, offensive player of the game, Jaden Blue, Quinn Ewers, the backup offensive line that came in, Gunnar Helm. Who do you got?
Oh.
Who y'all got today?
Damn, that's good.
There's a lot of guys. I mean, we talked, Rod and B-Rob, this leading up to today, we talked about, hey, who are some guys that might step up for Texas that haven't been playing or haven't seen as much? Blue certainly fits that category, right? But so do Trevor Gooseby playing right tackle instead of left tackle. Hayden Connor moves to center. Gunnar Helm kind of re-entered the picture as a receiving threat this week. Who do y'all got? Rod, I'll let you go first.
Can you, because we don't give any props to offensive linemen individually. Can we do it as a unit? Can I just go O-line?
You can if you want to. They have 2 100-yard rushers.
I gotta go O-line as a unit. Now, trust me, the rushers individually, they were great. I'll give you a great stat. Okay, so you see the 2 top rushers, Jaden Blue and Trey Weiss, are both over 100 yards, 146, 110. Take away their most explosive runs. Take away Jaden Blue's 77-yard run. He still averaged over 5 yards per carry. Take away Trey Weiss's 22-yard run. Still averaged over 6 yards per carry. That's how productive the running game was. Even taking away the most explosive run. So, I want to give to them. Those guys were great, but, the offensive line, I think 2 sacks allowed. Well, I believe that's the number. There were 2 sacks allowed overall. And, sometimes it's on kind of how Quinn handles the pressure too with the sack. Sometimes he can get rid of the football, I think, a little bit earlier. But so I'm not going to put all that on the O-line. I'm going to go O-line on this one, man. O-line, it's just offensive players of the game. I could go Gunnar Helm, but, that's a good play. But, hell, man, he needed time to get it to Gunnar Helm. I'm going to give it to the O-line. They played really well today, man. They had the bounce-back performance after Georgia, and Georgia did what Georgia does. I thought they played really well as a group, considering guys, Jake Majors went down at one point, and, Cam Williams went down at one point, and then you lost the starting running back at one point. O-line just kept it going, man. I'll give those guys a lot of props, so I'm going O-line.
What about you, Brian?
Well, I tell you what, man, it's hard to go against the O-line, especially in this game with the injuries, what they were still able to do as a unit. But for the sake of being different, all right, I'm going to say Jaden Blue. And I'll tell you why I'm going to say Jaden Blue. It's a couple of reasons. Yeah, look at the stat line. That's one reason to say Jaden Blue. Okay? The second reason I'm going to say that is, with all the injuries the running back had early in the year, Jaden Blue was supposed to be the featured guy. And that went away. He had problems fumbling the ball throughout the year. Okay? But when we needed him the most in this game, Jaden Blue was the guy to step up. Let's not forget, this was a ball game, son, until Jaden Blue broke off that 77-yard run. True. Okay, so he ultimately was really able to help put this ball game away. So because of all of the adversity and everything that Jaden Blue has had to endure this season, I think he deserves to have his moment this week.
I agree with Brian here, because in the first half, I could have given it to the right side of the Texas offensive line. They were running right like nobody's business with behind Jake Majors, obviously at center, but also DJ Campbell Cam Williams, they were dominating Clemson to the right. I mean, just dominating them. But I go with Jaden Blue too, and here's why. You mentioned the touchdown run, the 77-yarder, Brian. But the first touchdown too, the thing that he is he's got a jet. He's got the jets. You know what I mean? And he eliminates angles better than Trey Wisner. Now, Trey Wisner, I think, sets up runs better, right? I think we all probably agree with that. But Blue, for whatever reason today, he hit it. And I'll also say this. My biggest bugaboo with Jaden Blue is not breaking many tackles and getting tackled by arms. Was not tackled by arms nearly as much today. That's true. And so I agree. I'm good. I'm going to go with you, Brian, on this. Although the right side of the offensive line at one point, Rod, I was getting ready to anoint Cam Williams and DJ Campbell future NFL draft picks again.
The reason I'll go O-line, I think you guys, obviously, I would take you guys' pick too. That's really good because I agree with Jaden Blue. It wasn't just one concept that worked really well. In the wide zone, the outside zone, that's their money. But they were running pin and pull. They were in the counter. I mean, it all. It was kind of a chef's delight, if you will, of different different run concepts they could have thrown out there. So I just like the fact that the run game seems to still be working. And maybe it was just a bad matchup against Georgia. And Georgia's a bad matchup for 95% of college football.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna see how bad they are against Notre Dame because Notre Dame's a run first team.
Exactly.
We'll see if somebody else can actually run. Now, Notre Dame has a freak for a running back too, by the way, guys.
He is.
But their left tackle, Notre Dame's left tackle, by the way, might as well be an H-back. He lines up so far off the line of scrimmage. Man, Brian would be telling the refs every day, hey, that guy's too far off the line. That guy's too far off the line.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
What about the defense? Brian, I'll let you start. Who's your player of the game on defense?
Man, this one's a tough one for me because I think you know what? I'm going to go, even though the stat line really isn't there as much, I'm going to go Barron Sorrell. And I'll tell you why. I mean, I think he caused a lot of havoc in the game. I really do. I think he caused, I think he started early. You look at the first, I think it was first or second drive, he had a sack. And from that point on, you always saw him in the backfield. I think he was really the guy that got this thing started. I mean, to me, he was the guy that flashed the most in this game. Even though the stat line wasn't there for me, I just love the dirty work he did today, man. It's awesome to have the pretty plays, but when you can go out there and you can have a dirty game and still make an impact, which I think he did, I think he deserves it, man.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I'm in my feelings tonight. I want the guys to get some shine today for getting the shine.
No. Honestly, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. If I'm not going to jump on that, Barron Sorrell, just to add some variety to it, you're going to go Ethan Burke. Burke had a really good game, had a sack, tackle for loss in the game. I'm sure for him, it was emotional going up against an old teammate as well. So I'm sure for him, I saw the passion and emotion after he got that sack. He was really excited. So, yeah, I will eat them up. But I'm with you about Barron Sorrell, though. It seems like, especially since they run that NASCAR package on third downs, on third and longs, man, when they bump him inside, he's just you could argue he's more disruptive because he's probably going up against a lesser athlete inside. And he knows it's a passing down, too. And then you can really see him kind of let loose. So I'm with you, man. Barron Sorrell, just say he's been so consistent all damn season, man. He really has been.
And can I say something, man?
Go for it.
Michael Taft. Michael Taft, man, a walk-on to an All-American to your last home game in the college football playoff, and you make the play to seal the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, come on, dude. That's storybook stuff right there.
Yeah. He's our version of Rudy. Something good, except he's good.
He's Rudy, but he's good. That last play, you could see he knew it was coming. He was waiting for the crossing route, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And they'd gone to that. That's the play they scored off. The very first touchdown off of, and they ran it back, and he was waiting for it that time. My defensive player of the week or the game, it's weird. I actually thought Jalen Gilbo played a really good game. And it was relatively quiet, and I thought he played well. But I like Barron Sorrell. I like Barron Sorrell with you guys. I like Ethan Burke. You could go with either of those. Maybe just the edges as a whole, because Colin Simmons, I thought they held Colin Simmons, by the way, a couple different times and never got called.
He should have played more. They should have put him out there more, especially when if they were going to just put him out there as the edge on those downs where we knew they abandoned the running game. He should have been out there more. I mean, he's your best. He's one of your best natural pass rushers.
That's your edge. That's your NASCAR package that you talked about before. All right, we're going to get to some questions here from folks. I'm going to start with this one. Bobby, how's the old ticker? Not well. It's better now than it was about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. That was one. This one from Chad Wilson, guys. Secondary felt like the Washington game. Yeah. Did it feel that way to you, Rod? Or
good quarterbacks, guys. We've been talking about this all season long, and we were like, hey, this offense doesn't have a great quarterback. The quarterback's all right. They're average, so below average, so above average. They haven't played a good quarterback. Last year, who's the best quarterbacks they played last year?
Michael Penix.
Yeah. Like, good quarterback. That's a good quarterback. Good quarterback. Brian played in the league. I'm in the league a little bit. Brian played way lower than me. Brian can tell you, dude, the good quarterbacks, that's what they do. They go out there and they just solve problems, and you're like, what the hell, man? He just made a damn play when there wasn't a play to be made. And that's what you got to worry about with good quarterbacks, guys. That's my opinion. He was a good quarterback. That's not good enough to beat Texas, but that's what a good quarterback will do.
He didn't overwhelm them. I thought Penix at times overwhelmed Texas. Klubnik was hot.
Honestly, though, how could Penix not overwhelm Texas? He had 3 first-round wide receivers.
Boom. NFL guys. Yes, agreed. But Clemson's probably, what?
No doubt.
They got a couple of guys going to play on Sundays, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
they're just young. They're two of their top receivers are freshmen.
Yeah,
I mean the guy that was beating Manny Muhammad one-on-one was a true freshman.
Yeah.
And the tight end's pretty good for them. I thought they had a good group of core of wide receivers as well as tight ends, just receiving options in general. Trevor Gentry says the secondary will be better after this game today. Mark my words. Brian, I see you nodding your head real quick, fastly. Why do you think that?
Well, I go back to what I said earlier. When you got 2 weeks to prepare for somebody, you can find the holes. But I thought after the first drive, I thought they did an extremely good job of making adjustments. They must have done it on the sideline. I thought they played much better on the back end the rest of that first half. I thought the second half, Clemson made some adjustments again, and things got changed. But number one, I think Arizona State's a little bit better matchup for our secondary. And that's not to take anything away from them, but they are going to be a run-first team, and I think it's a better matchup. So I think they'll be better against them. But Texas is one of those teams, man. You give them time, you show them something. They've seen it time and time again this year. If you beat them with something, they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna learn from it, and they're gonna be able to adjust to it moving forward. And man, listen, good teams are gonna make good plays, like Rod said. This was a good offense tonight. I think people are letting the fact that they maybe were in the SEC or they had 3 losses. Don't let that skew anything for you. Like, this offense can go. And I think this defense played pretty well for the most part against this offense, but they had 2 weeks to prepare for them. And now you've got 10 days to prepare for another team as well. So, yes, I agree. They're going to be much better.
Yeah. I thought Texas could have situationally matched up a little bit better in the chess match on defense in the second half. I think if they'd have won, they kept run stuffing defenders on the field and run stopping defenders on the field when it was clear that it was going to be a pass first situation. And Texas did in the secondary because remember they took Gilbo off the field. They put Jay Barron in the slot. They put Jay Barron back in the nickel and put Gavin Holmes out there because they believe Gavin Holmes is a better coverage specialist. And then they had Manny out there. Listen, I know Manny had a bad game because they picked on Manny. I know people want to say Manny is a really good coverage corner. Coverage corners had bad games. Robbie's had 1 or 2, 3. Don't try to go find them for me, CB. But you know what I mean? Like I've had those games where it's like, damn, this ain't my game. Like I'm just.
Yep.
So I think they challenged him today, and he wasn't necessarily up to all those challenges. I will agree with that. They came after a lot of guys today. That is not necessarily. That's not an indictment on him as a player, guys, because you have an off game. Trust me, I've had plenty of those. And against a really good quarterback, and against guys who don't play on Sundays, that's usually when your off game happens, right? If you're gonna have. So he's a good player. I think those guys will bounce back. I think ultimately, like Brian said, they game plan for Texas really well. And like I said, it's not like Texas lost. Texas was getting overwhelmed to the point where they were getting beat, where they were going to lose the game. But I did a good job with Cade Klubnik moving the pocket, getting him outside, and getting the kind of routes on Texas defense that would be successful. They did a good job, and they probably showed some things to Arizona State that they're probably going to use. Be honest about it.
And I'll say this too. I mean, my thing is with this, when I look at this game, to me, this was the outlier of things not working hand in hand, right? Because if you really look at it under a microscope, okay, Cade Klubnik, when he had time, he had to utilize that time, which means receivers are being covered, okay? But the pressure's not getting to him, okay? And then the times where he had to get rid of the ball and it makes the DBs look really good, well, it was because the pressure was there. But they never seem to align with each other together. And that's where it is so vital and so important within a defense that rush and coverage have to work hand in hand. So that's what I would say to the fans. Like, if you're looking at it and a quarterback's back there patting the ball, they're covering. They're doing their job, right? But they can't cover them all day long.
Yep.
So that's when the rush has to kick in, and then vice versa. So, I just think this was one of those outlier games where they just wasn't able to consistently put that hand in hand.
I will say this, and I got to go back and look at it. I think they found Texas in man coverage often too. Think about early on, the touchdown was a target to motion. So they knew, guys, into man coverage. They ran the mesh concept, so it had a rub route there. And there were a couple of targets to motion. And when even when they were attacking man, they found out, he's in man, let's go. So they think, and I don't know if Texas went man to change it up because Cade was finding soft spots in the zone, or if they just knew specifically the few times that Texas was a man. Because Texas doesn't play a lot of man, guys. They don't play a lot of man.
Yeah.
They play man like 10% of the time. They play match zone, which is basically they play zone, and when a player comes into their zone, they match on them, which means they basically man up on that guy. So it's a man zone concept. They play 3 and 4 match zone. Probably, 65, 70% of the time. That's what they do. And they're really good at it. Like they're probably the best in the country at playing match zone. Clemson was, in a clever way, able to find out when they were in man and exploit it. And that was actually, I got to go back and watch the film and find out if Texas basically broke tendency and played more man than they usually do, or if Clemson, with a really good quarterback, figured out, all right, this is their man. I got it. We got the tendency here. We know they're in man because of the motion indicator, or we know they're in man because the formation revealed it, whatever. And it's like, now we got it. I don't know which one it is. I got to go figure it out. But they did a good job of that, just kind of based off the memory.
Yep.
Walter Williams here. My favorite show. The wifey is trying to get me to leave during the show. Not happening. Hello, Doghouse.
Oh, really?
Thank you, Walter. We appreciate it. I've been there. Trust me. I just got out last week. You're good.
You got out last week. I stay there too often. That's my problem. I knock on that door and then I stay there for too long. We got a couple questions coming in here. Brian, you mentioned early in this the third quarter swoons, so to speak, of Texas. D-Money can't get money. The third quarter is like the reoccurring Saturday cartoon villain for us. Do y'all have any thoughts? There you go, Brian. Do you have any thoughts, or either of y'all have thoughts on it, on what Texas and Sark may be able to do? I thought for a minute, I will say this, I thought for a minute tonight that when they were on the goal line, third and goal at the 2 or whatever it is, I thought, this is going to be the one that puts the game away, because that would have made it 35-10 instead of 31-10 had they done that. That would have been a 4. There's no way they're coming back from 4 scores. What did y'all think? Is there anything they can do to help that, Brian or Rod, either one?
Maybe restart the script in the second half.
Yeah, somebody said that was that Rod said that last game, or was that you, Brian? One of you two said that.
No, I agree, Brian.
We could have both said it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying, listen, I'm not saying that in a smart aleck way, but I'm just saying, like, that is what Texas does. That's what they're extremely good at. And I just see things being a little bit more methodical when they come out in the second half. And I don't know if that's a relaxation deal. I don't know if that's okay, we got to take time off the clock, not give them time to come back. But that's not working. I think, man, to me, like, if I would start this week, I'm saying, hey, I don't care what the score is. We come out in the second half, our job is to put up 14 points in the first two drives.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't let off until we put up 14 points. Because, dude, can you imagine coming out in the second half and putting up 14 points in the first two drives? Hey, you can milk the clock all you want.
Yep.
I mean, and so for me, that's what it's got to be. You know, we always talk about start fast in football. Start fast, start fast. That goes for the second half, too. You start fast in the first half, you start fast in the second half, and you finish strong, right? Like, that's what it's got to be.
Yep. No, I think there is because I think we still, for some reason, we don't give Sark enough credit for the growth. I do, but I don't know. Maybe I don't. But the growth that we've seen from him as a coach since he's been here at Texas, right? We've watched him grow and evolve as a coach. I'm going to list everything here because we'll be all day, but I think most Longhorn fans can list 2 or 3 things like, oh, I've seen him evolve on those things, right? And I think the scripter, the offensive coordinator in him, the basically the analytical mind, because that's what comes up with scripts, the analytical mind. They're looking at patterns and trends, what works, what doesn't work, the strengths, weaknesses, that kind of thing. It's research. Most of it's stuff that I love to do. The second half, though, you're off research. You're in the game, as EA Sports would say. That is the play caller. That is you're no longer the coordinator and the scripter. You're the play caller now. So I just think there's a difference between. I don't think he's mastered being a play caller just yet. And there's time for that. He's not a finished product. None of us are. So he's not a finished product. And I think one of the big thing is he's not. I don't think he is I don't think he's a chess master yet in winning the chess match within the game and winning the battle of wits with the other opposing defensive coordinator and head coach. And I'm not saying that he loses every game or anything like that, but I do think there's a lot of room for growth and improvement there. Start the play caller. And we always think people are like, oh, he's calling plays. No, he's scripting plays. They've said he scripts the first 40 plays, guys. That's a long script. Usually the script is 15 to 20 plays. If he's doing 40 plays, that's a long script. Now, of course, he deviates from it, and then I'm sure he makes adjustments, and then based on the circumstance of the situation and everything, I'm sure that happens. But that's a long script. So he's doing a lot of research on what will work and troubleshooting what will work and what can't work versus a defense. That's why he's always had great starts to games. Ever since he had bad teams with no talent, and he was starting great in games because that's where his strength is naturally. But he has to evolve into being a great play caller. He's not there yet. He's a really good one, really good. But great elite play callers, they're able to adjust and win the chess match real time. Their second half script, the one they came up with during the first half, those adjustments and anticipating the counters of your opponents, those are oftentimes better than your first half. And your first half script also sometimes setting up your second half script, the one you're doing in here, that you take an hour and a half and 2 hours to do while you're multitasking and calling plays. That's a lot, though. That's a lot. Shano, one of my good friends, is one of the best at it. And every time when people say he struggles with it in the second half, because it's when you're the head coach, coordinator, and play caller, and you're all those things. That's a lot for you to often have to do that for 4 quarters and make the adjustments and anticipate counters from the game. And I think that's where he's struggling just a little bit. But I don't even want you to start struggling. He's still growing.
More data as the game goes on. It's not necessarily good for a head coach that also is calling plays.
Agreed.
That feels right. I want to go to this real quick. Who's the last QB who got 12 wins at Texas? I'm going to ask this. Who's the last QB that got back-to-back 12-win seasons at Texas? DY? that it? They went. I'll go 2004, 2005. Win 12 plus. Is that right?
Yeah.
What did 8-9 do? What did 8-9 do? 8-9. How many they win? 8-9.
Maybe Colt, but 12 back-to-back 12 is pretty
that's
good.
Amazing. You're right.
Hats off, and I want to bring this up now because a lot of people wonder, why if Arch can be a better thrower and all this other stuff, why isn't he playing more? Steve Sarkisian had something today in the post-game press conference. CJ Vogel had this. Sark says quarterback Quinn Ewers audibled both Jaden Blue touchdowns into run plays after evaluating the fronts Clemson was in.
Nice.
You want to know why he's the quarterback? That's partly the reason, guys.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that somebody else couldn't have done it or what have you, but he's also a third-year starter with experience for a reason, and so it's not just throwing the ball well. It's more than just that as well. All right, guys.
Hey, real quick, Bobby, I want to say one thing. Let's not forget that not too long ago, we talked about, Brad, you talked about the growth of Sarkisian and this football team, right? Let's not forget that not too long ago, this is a Texas football team that might have lost this game.
Oh, yeah.
No doubt.
I mean, let's not forget that. So let's be happy. Okay, we're sitting here griping and moaning about a 14-point win.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm not griping. I'm just happy. I got to be somewhere on New Year's.
I want to put it away.
Hey, I got to be somewhere now on New Year's. I got to go to Atlanta. Nothing wrong with that. I'll be out there. Hey, speaking of that, there's been some questions about Arizona State. Paging Zach Swanson, that's the former Longhorn that talked a little trash to the Longhorns this week. There's also this question from William Nish. Great win. Is ASU, Arizona State, capable of pushing Texas? The secondary has some things to work on. Way to go, Blue. Hook 'em. ASU has a good running back, no doubt, right? Really good running back, talented, all that stuff. But do they have the personnel up front to really play? Look, if Texas can run against Clemson, I think they're going to be able to run against Arizona State. Is that safe to say?
Arizona State doesn't have the NFL bodies, all right, that Texas does. The NFL bodies and the NFL skill sets that Texas does. They're across the board, every position. That's just a fact. What would worry me, I got to check out the quarterback from Arizona State and how many plays he can make. Because I will say this about Scatterbo, though. Scatterbo's an NFL running back, right? Really good. Go look at the really good running backs Texas played. They can make plays. Really good running backs who can basically maximize space and they can hit that little sliver of daylight, whether it be Etienne. Florida running backs are really pretty good. The Arkansas running backs. So if you're a talented running back, I do think you can make some plays against the Texas defense. But ultimately, your quarterback, which is what we saw from Cade Klubnik, he's going to go win you the game against Texas. I don't know if Levitt is the guy, I believe is his name, if he can do that.
Yeah, he's a good thrower. Go ahead, Brian.
I was just going to say there's only two ways I see it happening. One is if Arizona State can run the ball, then play action comes in effect. Okay, that's one. Number two is if you don't respect them, and that can be an issue. So, do I see it happening? No. I think if Arizona State cannot run the ball, I don't see the pass game really being anything. I shouldn't say that Texas has to worry about because that comes back to the respect deal that I was talking about. But I think they can handle it for sure. But if they can run the ball, I think that's where things can get a little sketchy because now if you've got a running back that you got to sell out for, you got to put more guys in the box. You gotta sell out on a blitz, and now you're running play action passes with less guys in coverage. That could create an issue.
Welcome in, Jerry Hamilton here as well. Jerry, we've been talking about this post game. Myself, Rod Babers, Brian Robison. This post game brought to you by our friends Flight at Yuengling. A flight by Yuengling. Jerry, just a quick synopsis on your behalf on this game, in your opinion.
Well, my thought was if Cam Williams didn't get hurt in this game, I think Texas might have ran for 375. Dude, they were averaging 13 a pop on the right side when he went down.
Crazy.
It's not enough.
No. I mean, tell me how Clemson was going to stop that. I mean, like, he was just contacting people and they were going 3 yards.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that's where I give Texas a lot of credit in this game. It's never perfect, right? It's a freaking game of football. It's very rarely perfect. But you lose your starting center and you lose your right tackle who's mauling people, and you still run for 300 yards. I wanted you guys, Rod and Brian, to talk about Trevor Gooseby. Because this is a guy who, before the A&M game, had never played meaningful snaps at Texas. He was a guy who was thought as 2 years, we're going to get him stronger. Technique-wise, he'll get there. But he has now come in and played the majority of the A&M game, started the Georgia. He played a little bit when Cam Williams went out earlier in the season, so he did play some meaningful snaps. Then he played the majority of a college football playoff game at right tackle after playing left tackle. To me, he's like your hidden gem of like an MVP for a game like this or an A&M game, because imagine just being called when you haven't played a lot of football in meaningful snaps, being called upon, oh, you're going to play left tackle this game and you're going to play right tackle the next game, in games that we have to win, by the way. You can't lose them.
Yeah.
It's big time. What, Brian, Rod, which one of y'all want to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget he's a redshirt freshman.
Yeah.
I mean, let's think about that. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to put no pressure on nobody, but are we looking at another Outland Trophy winner in the future? Are we looking at that? I'm just saying, as a redshirt freshman, you coming into those situations, you having to play left tackle, you having to play right tackle.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not easy to switch your feet up and block.
Yeah.
That is not easy to do. Hell, I know defensive ends that can't get in a right-handed stance, and I know defensive ends that can't get in a left-handed stance. And for you to do it as an offensive tackle moving backwards, like, I mean, come on. Like kid, if he keeps growing, he keeps, really just getting in tune with things, he's got a chance to be really, really good. We might be talking about another Kelvin Banks Jr.
Wow.
We'll take that. We're going to need it because Kelvin Banks headed to the league. His block, by the way, on the long Jaden Blue run, that block alone, I don't know if y'all saw it on the video or on the broadcast, but it got Sark excited.
It'll be draft highlight reel. There'll be a draft highlight reel.
I had one more comment, then I'm going to let the pros take it from here. But I want to also congratulate the Texas fans, man. We had thousands of people on the watch with us. I think we set a record for views. So thanks to all of you guys and the A&M people that came on to talk trash, and Clemson fans too. But I wanted to say this. Bobby knows this. I was out at Arizona State last spring. My son and I went out there, and I actually had a chance to watch one of their workouts from a distance. And it's going to look, and I'm not disrespecting Arizona State, but for the Texas fans, the beginning of this game, it's going to look like Indiana versus Notre Dame. You're going to say, wow, we're a lot bigger across the board. We look more athletic across the board. I think Arizona State's probably a better team than Indiana because Scatabo has brought like a real toughness to the desert program that needed it. And the Levitt, what makes Arizona State interesting, I said this on the watch with us. Last year, they had Jaden Rashada and all the NIL stuff with Florida. He wanted NIL to stay at Arizona, and there was a lot of just conflict going on there. So he transfers to Georgia, and they get Sam Levitt in. And he is much like Scadabo's brought some toughness, and they're not dealing with the NIL BS around a recruitment. And he brought some toughness too. And they flipped that thing. They got better players, but they're tougher guys now. Yeah, they're bringing a little toughness to them. So I think I think Scadabo is actually really good for Texas, Brian, because he's going to. You can't watch that film and not respect how hard that guy plays. I think they're going to play really well against Scadabo against the run because Clemson. Y'all talked about Clemson has weapons on the outside. Mm-hmm. Arizona State lost Jordan Tyson for the season, it looks like, to a shoulder injury in the Big 12 championship game. And they don't have the same weapons for Levitt, and he's not quite the athlete at runner. He's good, He's more functional than Klubnik is athletic, but I think Scatterbo is going to fire Texas up. I think his physicality, when they watch it on film, is going to serve as the challenge this Texas defense needs headed into this game. Because he's going to contact you, and he wants to tell you after he contacts you. I think it's a great place to be for the Texas defense.
It's true. They haven't faced a running back like that. The running backs that they face are more guys that want to hit the edge, perimeter, make moves in space. Scatterbo wants to make you pay.
Yeah.
Scatterbo's about that life.
Yes.
I like
He's
that.
like Diego Pavia, but playing running back.
Yeah, I was just about to say Arizona State actually reminds me a lot of Vanderbilt. Like just that we're going to be gritty, we're going to be tough. But I think the difference with Arizona State is I do think they have a little bit better team. I think overall, but I think they have that underdog mentality, right? And that's the one thing you cannot measure. That's one thing that you cannot get caught off guard with in 11 days is understanding that this team started literally from the bottom. Nobody gave them a shot to do anything, and now they've got a first round bye. And when the point spread comes out for next week, it's gonna fire them up. And I think it's gonna be a great deal because, like you said, Jerry, you've got a offensive guy over there that basically is going to say, I'm going to out physical you in the run game. And you've got a defense that says nobody can out physical us. So it's going to be interesting to watch for sure.
I just want to say Merry Christmas to all you guys. Thanks, Brian, Rod, for all you guys do for On Texas Football. And thanks all the fans, man. We're excited for this thing to keep going. And so thanks for all you guys do, man. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Jerry. Appreciate you.
Brian still got the discus record, and I will say that until he doesn't. Hopefully, I never have to say he doesn't.
See you, Jerry, buddy. You be good, man. We'll have rapid reactions tomorrow morning. Myself, Jerry, CJ. CJ Vogel down there still doing interviews, by the way. Sark spoke to the press. We'll have that up and available on our website, as well as PK up and doing that. Now talking to the press as well.
Nice.
I know. I think it's now officially that time where Sark has to let the assistants talk a little bit. He usually lets them speak once a year, but in the playoffs, everybody gets to speak, right?
Nice.
Hey, Rod, one of the things that came up here that people have been asking about, from where you've been, can you break down what you saw from Manny Muhammad? Never seen him picked on like that. We haven't.
Yeah,
we haven't.
I was surprised too. Where you been? Thanks for the super chat. I was surprised as well, and it's unfair for me now to try to break down technically because I just on the first watch. So I will promise you on the second watch, which also will happen tomorrow. We'll have the second watch. Right, I'll get into kind of how they attacked him and what they did specifically. Like I said, I feel like they caught him in man coverage a lot, and usually you think Manny in man coverage that he would have the advantage there, but it seems like they thought, no, we can pick on him in man coverage. They didn't pick on Jade. They went at Jade a little bit early on in the game a couple of times and then decided, the Thorpe Water winner is probably not the way to go here. And then when they wanted to pick on the corner, they went at Manny Muhammad. I know they went at Gilbo a little bit. I thought they went at the linebackers in coverage. That's not – obviously they're not coverage specialists in that regard too. And some of the rotations in the secondary were kind of strange too. I'll admit that. I don't know if guys were hurt or what. I don't know if you guys noticed that too. At the top, Makuba was off the field in some crucial downs I saw at times, and Taft was off the field at crucial downs. And, I know that. So I got to go figure that out too. So second watch, I promise you, I'm going to look at the secondary. Like that'll be my top priority. Promise you that. So please tune in tomorrow. I promise you it's unfair for me now to kind of get into technique because truth is, it was just first watch. I was at the game for half the game, truth be told, full disclosure. I went to the game and then left the game. And then came back home. So I don't want to be unfair to those guys, especially DBs, man. They'll call me out. I'll get some DMs like, hey, Robbie, what you talking about, man? You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And so I don't want to do that to the young bucks, man. I want to be fair to them.
Hey, this one, guys, from Bobby Petronic. I agree with this. I kind of like the officiating, let the kids play, and kept it pretty even with the calls. I'm glad they called some pass interference, some PI calls.
They kept going at that dude.
Those were all legit PI calls, though, right? Did y'all agree?
He was just, I don't know, man. I don't want to be critical of, but you can't just be grabbing dudes at DB like that. You gotta try trying to be a little bit more discreet. I mean, he was just grabbing dudes' collars and stuff like that. I was like, of course you're going to get called for that. That's why I kept going at him. What did he get? He got, 2 to 3 PI calls in the game?
3.
And before I shouted to CJ Vogel, because CJ Vogel tweeted out that he was the guy to pick on because he had a lot of penalties prior to that game. He's a good coverage defender, but he panics when the ball's thrown sometimes in the air.
I got to ask you this. This one's for you, Brian. Thoughts on the defensive coordinator strategy to rush 4 most of the second half? They were up 18 at halftime. I mean, at some level, you want to keep it in front of you, right? But what did you think of that strategy to rush 4 most of the second half?
I mean, I don't think it's a bad strategy. I think, listen, Texas has been successful at what they've done, and you got to believe in your players. You got to understand what they can do. And I think for the most part, you look at it, they were able to put the ball game away. But my thing would be this, is I don't think it was necessarily the rush or any type of strategy. I think it was more so, and I mentioned it earlier with Rod, I think it was more so underestimating Cade Klubnik's athleticism. Cade Klubnik was able to be mobile and move around and do some things. And I think here's a prime example. You did not see this Texas defense rush Marcel Reed that way. You did not see this Texas defense rush any other mobile quarterback that way. Nope. Right? I'll go back to even last year with Jalen Milroe. You didn't see them rush that quarterback that way. But for some reason tonight, it was like there was a freedom to take an inside move quick. There was a freedom to get up the field. There was a freedom to, do whatever. It was almost like a free-for-all, not understanding that Cade Klubnik is mobile. He reminds me of a guy like Aaron Rodgers, right? He's not going to escape to run, even though he can, but he's escaping to throw. And you got to treat that the same way as a running quarterback, which is if he has the capability to get outside the pocket and make throws, that puts a tremendous amount of stress on the DBs. So you have to rush him the same way. You have to kind of collapse the pocket on him and make him nervous. And I just did not see that out of the front four tonight.
I agree. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Well, we'll see why they did it. I think it has to do with, I think they were just up, and by the way, I mean, let's talk a little bit about some of the big plays in this game, if y'all don't mind, because I think that they are, look, the big Blues run, right? Big play, the 4th down stop on the goal line, and even the 3rd down stop on the goal line, big plays. Matthew Golden / Quinn Ewers, a 4th down miss. Big play maybe in this game.
Yeah.
What about the touchdown toss from Ewers to Gunnar Helm before half, though? That was pretty big in my opinion, because otherwise they kick a field goal and go up by 2 touchdowns. Instead, they're up by 18. And I thought it was a pretty play, pretty throw, etc. What were some of y'all's big plays in this game that you want to bring about and think about or talk about with us? Any others?
That's good. I don't think any were bigger than Jaden Blue's big run.
Yeah.
I just don't. In terms of the feeling and the feel, watching it, and at the time thinking, "Oh man, this could get interesting. This could get real dicey here down the stretch if Texas doesn't, score a touchdown here." And not only they score a touchdown, they went boom, like to the house. To me, I think that made it kind of why Brian chose him to be the player of the game. That wasn't a play that felt bigger than that. Yeah, and now I found out that was Quinn, right? You said,
yep. According to Sark, Quinn put them in that he audibled the play call to the other side.
Even bigger. Yeah. Right? Because your quarterback got you into the right play call. That's what a veteran quarterback does. I know everybody wants to see more arch, and we saw was it 3 plays? How many plays of arch? 3
or 4?
3 or 4 plays.
A little bit more liberal with the use today.
Yeah, exactly. So we saw more of arch out there, which I'm fine with. So yeah, I thought that Blue run though, man, that was it, man. At home, first playoff game at DKR, big play like that. That was it. That was play of the game to me. I felt like it anyway.
This one from Hookem. He says, Hookem, Rod Babers. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate you. I want to go back to this one, if you don't mind, guys. And who does this Texas team remind y'all of right now, historically?
Like, that's good.
Jerry's Jackson says, this team reminds me of some of those early 2010 Bama teams, run game, OL, game manager, QB, or at least that's what they asked him to be, and a stout defense. That's y'all good. Agree with that kind of combo? I mean, is Quinn Ewers a proxy for AJ McCarron?
Wow.
I mean, maybe he's thinking maybe better than AJ.
When you really sit back and think about it, that's a pretty dang good comparison.
That's what I think.
Now, let's be real here. Are we going to say that Wisner is a Derrick Henry? Are we going to say I don't think we can go far as that. Hey, and I'm not saying Trey Wisner can't be an elite running back, but we cannot compare him to a guy like Derrick Henry. You can't do that. So, but I think my point to this is I think the comparison is pretty dang good. My question would be, if we're going to make that comparison, they got to finish it out. They got to finish it out before we can really make that comparison.
Man.
There you go, Brian. That's good stuff.
There's Mark Ingram. Look, Mark Ingram right there is looking at us saying, yeah, he's no Derrick Henry.
Oh, man. That is wild.
I love it. Hey, this one real quick from Aggie Grad. Who's the team you don't want to see? Don't say Georgia. I'm all in. And, hey, if Texas sees Georgia again and they got to play with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback, I'll raise my hand and take that one right now.
I'll take that too.
What do y'all – who's the team you don't want to see based on the games you saw tonight or today or yesterday and the other teams involved in the playoff? Who's the one y'all don't want to see? Just looking ahead a little bit here.
Oregon, maybe? I mean, is Oregon obvious because they're the number one team and undefeated. Oregon's got to be the obvious one, And like I said, I don't know if matchup wise, I haven't broken it down, so I don't know if they're a bad matchup in Texas. Penn State, I'm not scared of James Franklin. I don't think James Franklin's a very good big game coach. So to me, it's Oregon. It's Oregon because they got a quarterback.
Do I have to choose?
Good quarterbacks, man. Good quarterbacks. And we just saw what a good quarterback can do. I'll take Oregon.
Brian, you don't care. You got to beat them all. Is that what you're saying?
Here's my thing. I think this Texas team can beat anybody. And I'm just being real with that. Let's just look at it. All right. You look at Arizona State. That's the next team. I think this defense has an opportunity to stuff this run game. Okay. And I think they can't match up on the edges. I think their defense, as long as Texas plays consistent, I don't think their defense can stop them. Okay. If you go to the next round, it would be a possibility out of Oregon and who? I guess the winner of this game. Yeah. So all three of those games, I think it's going to be a really good battle between whoever's offense and our defense. But I still think that our offense can put up points against any of them. Okay, maybe Ohio State might have the best defense, in my opinion, out of the three.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you go to the other bracket. You got Boise State. I'm not trying to sound cocky, but if you want to run Ashton Jeanty 97 times a game, I don't care. Go ahead. I like our odds on defense. Okay. If you're looking at who would be the other team, Penn State.
Penn State.
I'm with Rob on that one. Listen, I think it'd be a good ball game, but that's not one of those games that just really, really scares me. And then you look at Georgia. Okay. Yeah, they beat us twice. Third time's a charm, right? But I'll tell you what I saw today that we have not seen in 2 games against Georgia in the run game. Go back and tell me you didn't see downhill runs today.
They did a couple, yeah.
Like we did some pulling, we did some zone stuff, but there was a lot of we just coming at you and there's nothing you can do to stop it.
That's true.
And you didn't see that against Georgia. And I think that is the difference. If you implement that in Georgia, I think it can neutralize the opportunity for those guys up front to gain penetration and things like that, like they have in a lot of those zone running schemes that we've been doing. So I go back to my original point. There's not a team that scares me in this playoff. To me, it's more about what Texas does versus who we're playing.
So Texas.
And on that note,
yeah. Hey, I still see it's still scars on it, man. You can still see.
Yeah,
yeah.
Up there.
That thing, man. Hey.
That's not from moving. That's not from moving from Austin to Minnesota to Belleville. That's just you earn those scars, didn't you, Brian?
On, man.
that was before I learned how to use my hands. I lost my
Sean McCumber says today was not a good look for the ACC. We agree. I think we agree with that, especially after what happened with SMU up at State College. OZ enroll. What happens if if Ewers returns next year? Ewers, I know that. Look, he's not returning next year, guys.
No.
I keep asking that. I've asked that question multiple times of people close to Quinn Ewers, and the answer is no. At the same time, I know what he's doing, and you guys know what he's doing too. He's not going to say anything until after the season. He don't want to distract from the season as it's ongoing. All right. I want to do a read real quick for our friends over at Flight, the next generation of light beer with only 95 calories. It's an upscale light beer designed to elevate the customer experience with more taste and just 4.2 grams of carbs. Flight is an easy-to-drink beer with a crisp taste. Try Flight from Yuengling. Thanks to the fine folks at Flight and our friends at Faust Distributing for sponsoring the postgame show all year long. Great people at both places. Give Flight from Yuengling a try. All right, hey, we're going to try to wrap it up here a little bit for the Longhorns headed to the quarterfinals now against Arizona State, a date with destiny, I believe, in Atlanta, 11 days from today. Guys, Texas playing pretty good ball right now based on what you saw. Did Texas play better on offense than maybe you anticipated today? Did Texas play – what do y'all, just taking knowledge of what we've seen, they're 12-2 now. I think they stumbled a little bit late in the SEC play because of the physicality maybe got to them, but maybe made some turnovers. But I thought Quinn Ewers played a clean game. But what did y'all think overall? Is Texas starting to look better in y'all's eyes, or what do you think? Brian, or Rod, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say quick, some of the problems that Texas has been dealing with are still an issue. Third quarter still an issue. Turnovers still an issue. Texas has more turnovers than anybody else in this tournament. And Texas, going into this game, Texas was 107th in the country, guys, in giveaways. That is the one, the one unforgivable sin from the football gods, right? You turn the ball over. Texas doesn't play enough clean games. They didn't have the penalties this time, but the turnovers are strange. And in the third quarter, of course, that's an issue. So I think the running game now is working. I don't worry about the red zone as much when the running game is working. So to me, you got maybe two issues that could hinder you, in my opinion, from winning a national title. And that's the untimely turnovers and that third quarter. For some reason, it's just right now. You got to figure that out. Something's going on with that third quarter.
Yeah.
Defensively, I'm not stressed. People are like, "Oh, about the defense." I say good quarterbacks. You play Dylan Gabriel, really good quarterback again. Then maybe I'll get stressed out about the defense playing a good quarterback. But that's what happens when you play good quarterbacks. They only scored 24 points, right? It's not like they scored a ton of points.
You may have my thought on this. The thing that I would say to y'all is that you might have to score 38 to beat Oregon.
Yeah, that's true.
And we haven't seen Texas score 38 against anybody for a while.
That's
so
right.
I look at this game, and not only did they beat a good team that had good talent, it's a different style of ball in the ACC than it is the SEC. That's in a phone booth a lot of times in the SEC. I actually feel like, they match up now that we know they can score more. I think you see a path for them against an Oregon.
Yep.
Maybe. Whereas before, you're a little concerned if you have to go score 30, 34, 35 against Oregon to win. I don't know that you can get there. Now you see a path to that based on what I saw tonight. What do you think, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at it, you look at a team like Oregon, right? I think Texas has figured out a way to be physical in the run game, and that's what they're going to have to be against an Oregon football team. They're going to have to wear those guys down because listen, their offense is going to be potent. Like their offense can put up points. You're going to have a quarterback that is familiar with Texas, so that's going to be a challenge in itself. But the other part of that is, can you wear down their defense to the point where they can't hold up? Now you start putting points on the board, and even this defense just gets a few stops, you've got an opportunity to win a ball game against an Oregon, very good Oregon team. Whereas where I look at the difference between, like, let's just say in Ohio State, they're more of we're going to get physical with you. Yeah, we've got some big time receivers. We're going to throw the ball up to them as well. But like, we're old school Big Ten football. We're gonna out physical you up front on both sides of the football. And so that becomes a little bit more of a challenge, in my opinion, because that's in their wheelhouse. Like that's what they want to do. Now, can Texas impose their will on that? Sure, they could, especially if they run the ball like they did tonight. So that to me would be the ever burning question. The other thing is it's never been a question to me about what this Texas offense can do. It's more so, which Texas offense are we going to get each and every night, right? Are we going to get the Texas offense that is going to ground and pound you? Are we going to get the Texas offense that is going to run all these shifts and motions and beat you in the intermediate passing game and break tackles and get yards after the catch? And, or are we going to get the Texas team that throws the ball deep? Are we going to get the Texas team that creates or that turns the ball over, that has miscues in critical situations? Like, we've seen every flip of the coin with this Texas offense, and the only thing that's really been stable for the most part is the running game. And so, like, that would be the question for me, is I think we found consistency in the running game for the most part. You got to take Georgia out of that mix, but for the most part, you've seen Texas's running game be very consistent. So that's going to be there. The question is going to be, what do you have to go with that? Because there's going to be some times where you have to have something to go with that to open up the running game, and there's going to be times where that running game opens up something else in the offense. So to me, that's what it's got to be. The key is they just got to be consistent. They got to figure out something else to go with the running game that can be consistent for them.
There's a path, though.
Absolutely.
I think,
Absolutely.
Brian, you said that earlier, and I agree with it. And I can see them getting into the shootout with Oregon and perhaps winning that if they had to. Right? I'm not saying they definitely would. They probably wouldn't want to be in a shootout, right? But I now see a path of doing that, and I hadn't seen that in 5 games. I mean, 38 points, a lot of points. You know? And there were no cheap points. They had one long run, but there were no cheap points there to be had.
I left some points on the field too, Bobby. They left some points.
And they left points on the field. Yes, absolutely. All right, just a quick sum up for everybody real quick. Jake Majors went out. I believe he got his bell rung. That's what I believe happened, and they took his helmet away. He was trying to get back in the game physically, but they didn't let him. Kelvin Banks now gets 11 more days to heal up a little bit. Trey Wisner likely could have played more in the game had he wanted to. Still had his helmet and pads on. Cam Williams was walking around on the field after the game. A little bit of a limp, but not. It doesn't appear like it's a season-ending injury, at least not now. He'll probably have some tests this week. But all in all, Texas also emerges relatively healthy, I think, even though they're a little dinged up today. 11 days is a long time to heal the type of injuries I think that they've got, if that makes sense. So I want to say that. One last thing we did not mention, and some people in the chat put it out there, and I agree. On top of Jaden Blue and Gunnar Helm and Quinn Ewers and all those guys, a little bit of a hat tip to Ryan Wingo today. And the reason why I say that is this. He was the guy that drew 2 of those 3 in those two of those three deal. Hey, before we go, we actually do have our man CJ Vogel here checking in. Hey, CJ, we brought you in for the last couple of minutes here. I apologize for not getting to you early. I didn't see you on the screen. You're inside DKR. It looks a little bit emptier than it was just about an hour ago. Tell us what you saw in the game, what Sark and PK, those guys had to say.
Yeah, of course. Look, it's empty now, Bobby, but this place was packed. 101,000 they announced. I was a little surprised at the turnout. Maybe that's on me for a turnout for a playoff game like this, but a great atmosphere, great environment. To add to your injury note, positives for Steve Sarkisian, he said they held out Jake Majors and Trey Weiser. If they needed both to return into the game, they could have gone, but they wanted to just stay cautious. Of course, they felt like they could have won this game without them, and evidently they did. Cam Williams tried to give it a go, was in for one snap in the second half. Obviously could not, came out. They are looking at that right knee. Bent oddly, we'll say that. So we'll see what his status will be for January 1st, but a positive on the other two, 100%. We did hear from Pete Kwiatkowski, who earlier in the week, Michael Taft, Jahdae Barron described him as a genius. Well, Pete Kwiatkowski came out and said, you know what, I'd just be a schmuck if it weren't for the guys going out there and making the play. So he gave that credit right back to the guys on the field. Of course, they gave a lot of credit to Cade Klubnik because that was a heck of a performance. The best that we've seen from an opposing quarterback this year, both with the legs and the arm. I think Clemson only had 10 actual run attempts to their running backs, which was something interesting. But to the point, they got the job done, and Michael Taft, this one felt good for him.
Steve Sarkisian stepped to the mic. What did he have to say, CJ, that caught your attention tonight?
Yeah, the biggest thing for me, look, on both big runs for Jaden Blue, right? You know, he had the 40-yard touchdown early, and he had 77-yard touchdown late in that second half right there. He said both of them were audibles from Quinn Ewers. So he said he got to the line, saw the front, and because of what they had practiced in the week prior, Quinn Ewers was able to get out of the checked play, which I believe both were passes. And he said, you know what, we're going outside zone to Jaden Blue. And the blocking lined up perfectly to the front that they saw in practice. And the rest is history. Credit to Jaden Blue, because that was a big bounce-back game for him. And one thing he said was this game was a sigh of relief for him. And how could it not be after some of the turbulence that he's experienced this year with fumbles, with play time, etc. 2 big-time touchdowns, a tremendous game, over 140 yards. That had to feel good if you're Jaden Blue.
Sark have anything to say about the next game by chance?
He didn't say a whole lot. He said, look, we'll get the guys ready. Of course, preparing to get back on the plane, go back to Atlanta. Familiar now with Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But there was a question about Cam Scatabo, who said he believes that he is the best running back in the country. Barron Sorrell says a lot of teams come in thinking they'll be able to run the football against Texas. Sometimes they don't have that success that they hope they would have coming in, and he's hoping that's going to be the case again next go around.
Brian Robison's trying to hide his smile as you report that right now, CJ. CJ, we'll let you go, buddy. We'll have more tomorrow on Rapid Reactions in the morning. CJ, thanks so much. Also, check out ontexasfootball.com for all of CJ's reports from the game live. Hook 'em, CJ. Take care of yourself, buddy. All right, later. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this evening's edition of the post-game show, brought to you by our friends at Flight by Yingling and Faust Distributing. For Brian Robison and Rob Babers, I'm Bobby Burton. The Longhorns are headed to the quarterfinals, baby. We got a date on New Year's Day. I love it. Love it. Y'all be good, guys. Hook 'em. We'll see you a little bit later.
Hook 'em.